Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. Hopefully, not good morning, because you should all be somewhere in the APAC region, not like us in London. Thanks for the emoji love. Keep it coming. Okay, so just as people start to join us, I just want to welcome you all to the Young Lions Competitions Live Masterclass. This is a free webinar that we do every year to celebrate the beginning of the Young Lions competitions globally and get you ready to head to Cannes. So just as kind of housekeeping rules, so this is a webinar format, so we can't see all of your faces, but as I can see, everyone has found the emoji button. So keep showing everybody some love and some celebration. The chat function is open, so you can chat to each other, chat to our panelists. We also have a Q&A tab that should be live. As we're going through the different sessions, you can drop your questions in the Q&A, and at the end, I will pick them up and put them back to our panelists. So we've got a really, really exciting session for you today. We've got two talks from a Cannes Lion winning team and a Cannes industry legend. So you are very lucky to be here. Just to started. I think we've got a good amount of people here and people will be joining us. And if you've got colleagues that may not have been able to make it, we will record this session for you. So today we are lucky, as I said, to be joined by some real powerhouses. First up, we have Laura and Amy, who won the Bronze Cannes Young Lion Medal for Digital in 2025, so last year. Laura is an art director at M&C Saatchi. She is a strategic creative with the craft to back it up, leading winning pitches and mentoring young talent at award school and open house. Amy is a copywriter at M&C Saatchi as well, whose work has been recognised by Cannes Lions, Effie's and D&AD. They'll be taking you through how to tackle the Young Lions competitions, think locally and, of course, on the global stage. Next, we have Atiya Zaidi, CEO and CCO at BBDO Pakistan, which is the most awarded agency in Pakistan. With over 20 years of experience, she is the winner of the first ever Glass Can Lion for Pakistan, the first person to be jury president at Spikes Asia from Pakistan, and the first Pakistani delegate to be selected for the Cannes Lion See It Be It program. Atiya will be sharing her fundamental skills that every upcoming creative and young lion competitor should have in their repertoire. Let's show some love for the panelists. I can see some nice hearts and claps going on. Thank you. So back to why we're all here, the Young Lions competitions. Thumbs up if you know what they are. Got some celebrations. A lot of thumbs up. That's good. That's a good start. But for those that don't know what it is, let me give you a quick rundown. So, we refer to the Young Lions competitions as the Olympics of creativity because it truly brings the best emerging creatives and marketers together to showcase their skills on the global stage. Teams of two can enter into one of our 7 competitions, which all follow core advertising and comms tracks. So our competitions are print, PR, media, marketers, digital, design, and film. Each competition has a unique creative brief provided by a global non-profit or charity organisation. After receiving the brief, teams have 24 to 48 hours to respond with a campaign. Campaigns are judged by our Cannes Young Lions jury, comprised of the best creative minds from the Cannes Lions shortlisting jury. Each competition has 1 gold, 1 silver, and 1 bronze team who are awarded on the final day of the festival, as seen in this lovely picture. And as I said, it really is the Olympics of creativity because we have over 65 different countries competing, so a lot to play for. So, if you're thinking to yourself, how do I get involved? There are three easy steps to follow. So the first one is that you need to reach out to your local Cannes Lion representative. So we have representatives in about 70 to 75 countries throughout the world, and most of those will be running a Young Lions competition. My colleague Paola will share a spreadsheet later on with all of the information that you need, including what competitions are still open and how you can apply. Once you've found your local representative, you need to find your teammate and compete in your local competition. So, as I said, it's the teams of two. It follows the same as what we do in Cannes. Pick your competition and enter. If you are lucky enough to win gold, you will then represent your country in Cannes Young Lions, and we will see you in the summer. So I know that was a little short burst and a lot of information. As I said, my colleague will put down the sheet with all the information in the chat. If you have any questions, then please feel free to put them in the Q&A today or in the chat. But if not, then take down this email, competitions@canlions.com, and me and the team will be happy to support you. Thank you so much, and let's get on to our talks. So, welcoming Amy and Laura for the first session, Dear Competitor.
Thanks, Atari. I'm Laura.
And I'm Amy. Thanks for the lovely introductions.
Yes, we weren't expecting the byline after our names.
Like, what is she going to say?
We're just going to quickly share our presentation, which we did practice, so it shouldn't be this hard.
I think, Paola, if you could share, if you're going to be able to allow us to share our screen.
Oh, yeah, we got it. Okay, awesome.
Got there eventually.
So,
thumbs up if you can see it. You can all see it? Great, fantastic. Thank you, guys. So who are we? Well, yeah, like we said, I'm Amy. I'm a copywriter at M&C Saatchi Sydney.
And I'm Laura, art director. And we have a little letter, is how we kind of structured all this. So, dear competitor, as Tori mentioned, there's like a lot of great things you can work towards, but if you don't win, you learn. So whilst we were fortunate enough to be the Australian winners of last year and placing third, before that we lost. So I was runner-up in Australia in 2024.
And I was a finalist in 2022. And we both tried previously and didn't make it in previous years as well.
Yeah. So the key thing to remember is whilst that's your objective, there's always something to take out of this competition beyond just the finishing title. And you can always take it in. So everything we learned from those rounds, we took into what enabled us to win last year.
But yeah, we kept pushing hard, and the hard work did pay off, which is awesome, which is why we're here today. Dear competitor, set your intentions early. So we do believe in the power of manifestation, and our first slide in our idea deck was just setting that intention of getting gold. I do genuinely think that it might be a lofty goal, but having it at the beginning of your slide is a reminder of why you're doing it. So go ahead, have at the top of your slide deck just your objective up front to really empower you and motivate you to win, hopefully.
Yeah. And dear competitor, be prepared. So everyone's natural competition might be run slightly differently, but there's things you can do before you go in. When you're in Cannes, the 24 hours, that's the time you have, but there's things you can do beforehand to be more prepared. One of the things that we did was prepare our award board. So every category except for print and film does have an award board or a presentation format. So we had designed templates going into it. Now there's different ways you can lay out your idea and let that influence it, but having a rough idea with the different components. So for example, you have your problem, your insight, your idea, and your execution, trying to keep that to 2 or 3 sentences, particularly insight getting really tight with 1 or 2. And then hierarchically making sure you have a big logo or idea name with maybe a line underneath, a key visual. So depending on your category, what that is housed in slightly differs. We did digital, so we made sure that was in a phone shell or some sort of digital platform, having some PR headlines on the side to kind of it's a great way, shortcut, to be like, this is what our idea is about. And then also like a really simple, clear, understand like user journey or different executional elements. So this is like an example of one of the templates that we had going into it. And then this was our idea at Can last year. So you can see how those elements directly translate once we were given our brief, which for context was about saving the bees. And our idea was Airbnb. You should be able to get it just from that center bit, and all of our detail sits around it.
Yeah, making sure like your key idea is super visible, it's super memorable, but also like having the key elements in really, you don't have too much real estate. So being really succinct is super important in that award board. Dear competitor, look at the gold. So just as we built our digital template, it's important to look at the different categories and what category you're entering into, and recognizing that good award boards and the ones that all won gold all had the same elements. Like you build off your insight, or you start off with a problem and then you build on your insight, and then that insight is directly responding to the brief, and then you have your idea and execution laid out depending on the category that you're entering to. So you can see the media one, which is hidden in plain sight, is clearly in that earned space and has that media approach on the right-hand side. Or you look at, say, the design template has that clear identity, and execution takes up the majority of the space. So really tailor your template and your ideas structure to the submission and the category you're entering into.
And you can get inspired with these. Like I think the Can website, Love the Work, has these. You can also look on like Spice Asia, a bunch of other ones to get inspiration ahead of getting your brief. But another thing you can do to prepare is having time management. It's key. So set a time plan for your 24 hours or however long you have. But a great thing is like, you can apply this to whatever system. For us, I will like self-admit, not an organized person naturally, but we did set our like milestones ahead of time. And the important thing is to still stay true to your natural process and system. So where at work or whatever you do, you might, first start with research, ideate separately, then coming together, culling it down to say like 3 ideas, then land on an idea before you go into the craft stage. For us, look, it slightly varies per person, but we would highly recommend like a drop dead commitment time. For us, it was that 50% mark. And in the 24-hour round, that was before we went to bed, so that we could wake up and just be like, okay, now it's time to craft. And the important thing with that is, crude example, people like, if you're going to have a piece of shit idea, make it the most polished, golden, beautiful piece of shit, because that will be a brilliant idea that was never crafted or incomplete. So craft, make sure you leave time for it, commit, and like stay true to that line, because in 24 hours, they're the ideas you have. Waiting until the 90% mark isn't really going to change anything. Crafting is just as important as ideating.
Yeah, and that was the big difference between our time in Australia versus our time in Cannes. In Australia, we maybe left locking in our idea to the 75% mark, and that was really stressful, like really, really stressful. And we're going to try and avoid that, because at the end of the day, craft is so important. So it's great to lock in, ideally around the halfway mark.
Yeah, and we kind of got away with it in the Australia round because we had 4 days, but if we had done that in the 24-hour time, it would have been a lot more detrimental.
Yeah. Dear competitor, work to your strengths. So obviously it's super important, like we said in our time plan, spend time apart, particularly that first 2 or 3 hours, or if you've got more time, then even longer, but spend time apart to work to your own strengths. And divide and conquer. Laura's really kind of great with insights that are rooted in research and strategy. I love understanding what's going on in social and going down like a Reddit rabbit hole. Like we have very different ways of going about research and ideating, but then when you come together, you've got an abundance of ideas to choose from, and then you kind of work and collaborate from there. And also just work to your strengths from a time like perspective. I do fall asleep much quicker and later, earlier in the morning. I work best in the morning, and
it's late here, so Amy's losing it.
I'm losing it already. But no, like for example, like Laura was up, past 2 a.m., whereas I was up at like 5:36.
Yeah.
So it's just you work to each other's timelines as well.
Yeah. And the only other thing to note on that is naturally within our roles, we have a natural division of tasks. Like as an art director, it was kind of already known that I would, work on the craft of the design, and as the writer, Amy would, she'd be like in charge of the written submission and stuff like that. But if you don't have natural roles assumed, define them beforehand, because double handling will just waste time that you kind of need, be resourceful on when you have the time.
Yeah, it's good. The best part of this competition is that you do work in pairs, so you can delegate.
Yeah.
And yeah, the similar thing with finding your strengths and leaning into your strength is, look after your body and look after your routine and try and stick to it. So yeah, like you can see at my morning coffee, but also just go for walks. Like we still had to do our jobs, so we went on a shoot, which was pretty crazy during that 4-day period. But just have some element of normalcy, because it's just important to stick to your routine, because you will find if you deviate from it too much, your brain will be wired, or you'll be reacting to things differently. So it's important to find balance. And yeah, even in Cannes, we still try to socialize and do everything we could while also competing.
Yeah. And dear competitor, learn how to cull your ideas. So, you've done all the great preparation work, we've divided and conquered, we've come together, we've got lots of ideas we're excited about, or maybe not. And then it's like, okay, how do you determine which ones to keep? So creating a little criteria for yourself is important. So what we love to look at firstly is it unexpected? Like you want to be excited about it. This is the setting where you're in, like, as Atari said, like you're in the creative Olympics. You don't have a client, squashing you down. Be audacious, be unexpected. Like, has this been done before? Is this, if you're working for, a charity, can you borrow tropes from like sports marketing or something else that's like really like uncouth for that area? But ultimately ask yourself, is this something I would talk to my friend about? Because if it's self-serving, if it's just the brand talking to itself, if you like kind of have to explain it to your best friend or your mom who's not connected to the world of advertising, it's not expected, as it's not new, it's not exciting.
So the second criteria, if you're trying to be a creative director, you need to actually understand if it's feasible. Am I using kind of a digital platform or a partnership or a media property in a unique way, or am I trying to reinvent the wheel and create some new kind of, look, you might be able to make it, I don't know, AI algorithm, but like it needs to be feasible. And also a lot of these competitions, and a great part of these competitions is that they're for often for not-for-profits or for charities. So you need to be resourceful and recognize the limitations. There'll also often be a budget in your brief. So obviously it's an award, so it's theoretical, so you can stretch it a little bit, but try and make it feel feasible and on brief and on prop.
Yeah, which kind of speaks to the last point of keep it simple. So whilst you're unexpected, you've got a million ideas out there, or it's like really feasible and grounded, at its core, it needs to have a simple through line. So know when to cull, what to keep, and in its simplest form, is it answering the brief? So a lot of the briefs are giving you a problem. Does your creative solution answer it in a really clear way? And is that the one answer that you have throughout your piece?
Yeah, if you have your idea written in one line, you've got to have that idea line be a direct response to the prop or the insight that you've been given. So yeah, keep it simple.
Yeah, it's actually a good test when you're like with your partner and you're like, no, it's bigger than this. And they're like, why? I don't get it. And you're like over explaining, you're like, tell you what, it's not that simple. So great way to call it.
Dear competitor, stay curious. So obviously we were really lucky. We got a great brief from the team at Cannes. But you've got to make sure that when you get the brief, first of all, you read it. That's a given. But it's great to rewrite the brief. I'm sure everyone understands the get, to, who, by. You often will be provided with one of those, but you can also rewrite it and find your own spin on it to lay the foundation for your ideating, your thinking. You've also got to love the brief. Even if you aren't like super passionate about the cause, you need to find something in your research or even in the background that the brief provides. You need to find something to be excited about, passionate about, like really deep dive, become a nerd about like bees for 24 hours, really grow to love it, but also highlight the brief. And I think it's something that I guess it's a bit old school, but you print it out. We got given printouts at Can. You print it out, you get your highlighter, you highlight the keywords, and I guess the trick at the end is to make sure that your written submission and your award board have the keywords from the brief, like peppered into or sprinkled into your submission and your write-up, just to make sure that it feels like an organic response to the brief.
Yeah, you want to make it easy for the judges to go like, I've answered the brief, look.
Tick, tick. And yeah, you'll learn something new. And don't discount the weird ideas. So this is at 2 a.m., so the bed hair is really showing. But this was us doing research and coming across this video that had, it was a little tiny camera mounted onto a bee. And we thought it was the most incredible thing as well. It was a bee's point of view. And I was like, this is insane. But the point is, like, that bee's perspective did actually carry through into our final submission. Sure, we didn't use the YouTube and we were a bit kind of chaotic at the time, but definitely the weird ideas can lead into something unique.
Yeah, and dear competitor, believe in your idea. So you've culled it down, you've picked one, you've maybe gone through some ups and downs in that journey, but you've committed to it, believe in it. And also a part of that is your idea is only as good as you present it. So if you're lucky to get through to the finals, you will present your idea. There's a couple categories that don't. Apologies if that doesn't apply to you. But the way you package up an idea is just as important as the thinking behind it. So just as much as it's important to make sure like the language is really like obvious that it's there, believe in your idea, let your passion come through. For us, again, like time crunch, we wanted to be super organized about it. So we like had a bit of a transcript, wrote it down, practiced it, forced like colleagues and random people to listen to us as we presented at them. Like every stage of the process, I guess this comes back to like the craft thing of like, you've got a great idea, believe it's a great idea, and let people know by communicating it in the best way possible, but also lean into your own natural style. So like Amy and I, as you might be gathering, are like a little bit theatrical in the way we present. Like
drama queens.
Yeah, drama students, that's us. And if we try to be a more like reserved, serious speaker, that would be like deeply uncomfortable to watch. In the same way, someone who's maybe a little bit more like reserved, like people are leaning in as they're a little bit more softly spoken. If they try and be us and like use their hands and theatrical, also really uncomfortable to watch. So like lean into your natural strengths and your own style, and let that confidence carry you through. And the confidence that, you've got a good idea. So let people see the passion for it.
Yeah, just to build on that, when we presented it in Cannes, and it's something we also did in Australia too, was try and invite the judges into your presentation in some way. We asked the panel a question at one point, or cherry picked someone from the panel, but also just make sure that you feel like the presentation isn't just a one-way street. There might be a way to bring interaction and a two-way conversation to make it super engaging. But yeah, be yourself, and your presentation style will kind of shine through that way. And yeah, finally, kind of off the back of that is believe in yourself. Obviously, it can be very stressful. These competitions are really kind of time pressure, and you do have to kind of react to that. But you've also got to have a really positive attitude, just kind of expel any bad energy, channel Kris Jenner in this situation. But yeah, try and have a positive attitude and ultimately have fun. And yeah, believe in yourself, because the more you believe in yourself, hopefully the more creative you will be. And then hopefully that just kind of brings you to where we are. And you guys can be the next set of winners. And I think that's us.
Thank you so much, both. That was really good. And also very funny. Thank you.
You were very welcome.
Missing lots of emoji love there. So now handing over to Bettina.
Thank you, and thank you, Amy and Laura. It was a lot of joy for me to watch your presentation, and I'm sure these are great tips for everyone who's participating. I don't have a presentation, and I'm not a fun person like Laura and Amy are. I'm old, and I've been doing this for a long time. But I think that's where you can learn from. Wisdom is also falling a lot and getting up a lot. Wisdom is different from knowledge because wisdom is someone who has a lot of scars to show, that who've gone through a lot of pain and who have a thick skin. So I'm going to try to break down some of that wisdom into what are the fundamentals of creativity, and which will help you not only in the competition but also in your career. And if you've heard of the four C's of a diamond that define the worth of a diamond, which are, I think, cut, clarity. I'm not a diamond person, but the analogy works because the fundamental of creativity are also in different C's. So I have five C's that I'll share with you. Before that, I'll just give a brief intro. So I'm a creative who became a business head, and I do still do both jobs, and it spins my head most of the time because it's like riding two dragons, and one is going in that direction and the other is going in that direction. And I think that's something that I want all of the creatives to think about, that when creatives come into power and they understand what's at stake for business, they can plug in creativity at every step of the business, and the business becomes better. So, I might be the first one who's done it in Pakistan, but I want all of you to aim for that top role where you also have the power, the responsibility, and also, you are also accountable for it. So, if you're creative, then you are creative in every aspect of your life, right? How you will solve problems with a creative point of view. Having said that, let me just come back to the topic for today, which is the fundamentals of creativity. I think the first thing which makes you a creative person or not a creative person. I mean, we're all creative, right? We all know how to lie, and lies are creative ideas, aren't they, right? A little child can also tell a very compelling story, and without knowing the fundamentals and the bricks of a story, they would know that there will be a beginning, there'll be a middle, there'll be an end, there'll be some twist in the end, and there'll be some moral or lesson that you'll follow. Why? They have never read the theory of screenplays, and they're not familiar with the hero's journey, but they are familiar of what makes a compelling story. So we are all creative. Let's, put that aside, that we are all creative. But some people are more creative because they think that why does it has to be like that? And that is the first principle of creativity, is curiosity, that you always be curious. And I'm so glad that Amy and Laura also talk about it, that as a competitor and to grow in this career, you should always have a curious spirit, a childlike spirit, saying, no, but why does it has to be like that? Why can't I change it? And there are some tricks and tools that you can use. So one of them, which I absolutely love, is called How Might We? So how might we is not asking for permission. It's not saying, can we? It's saying, how might we? And it also puts these things in your head that everything is supposed to be challenged. Everything can be done better. There can always be, you have a problem with creativity, you can solve it, by putting a different hat on it, by maybe thinking function versus form. If you think function first, you can solve these problems. But if I ask you to design a better wheel, you'll come back with a wheel, different versions of it. But if I say that the question is, how do we make commute better? Then that is putting function over form. And this is how you can approach that. So how might we is this one great way of pulling and pushing that curiosity forward. One other thing that you should always keep in mind is that feed your mind. If you want to be a great creative, you should always feed your mind. The way you feed your body, and without that, we feel hungry. If you don't put things in your mind, your brain would be hungry. It says, they say rubbish in, rubbish out, right? So look at the world, look at everything from this element that you are feeding your mind and you're putting these ideas there. I'll give you an example. 15 years ago, somebody told me about this phenomenon called the doctor daughter-in-law in Pakistan, that in Pakistan, girls are super smart. and they ace all of the exams and they get into medical colleges. And after becoming a doctor, 77% of them do not practice medicine. And that was 15 years ago that somebody told me that everybody wants a daughter-in-law to be a doctor, but they don't want her to practice. That means that the country doesn't have enough doctors. I carried that with me and I did research on it for 15 years. And then finally, after 15 years, we could turn it into a concept for our client. And it made a huge difference. We got 8,500 doctors to come back to the field. So just giving this as an example, we didn't win any awards on it. But the biggest award was that we got more doctors, more female doctors to come back in the field and hence, solving a problem for the country. So when you feed your mind, and these are great tools that we have at our disposal nowadays. You don't need to go to a library. You have these fantastic, your phone is more powerful than the supercomputers 10 years ago. You have podcasts, you have books to read, you have amazing things to watch. So be mindful of your time and say every day, the way I set aside time for lunch and I set aside time for dinner, I'm going to set aside time for feeding my mind. And it could be anything that you want. It could be a movie. It could be you going to, lovethework.com and looking at that work. You can just simply going into like, I'm going to expand my mind. So curiosity is the first thing that will not only make sure that you become a great creative, but you stay a great creative because the world will keep changing. The second thing is it's constantly getting back up to in this business to survive and the way the world is changing, you need to have that resilience mindset, right? And someone I had a great mentor once, one who once told me that in his time when he was younger, he used to present ideas on these boards. And those ideas, when you present them, he was told that just imagine in your head that this board you're holding it here. Okay, I don't know if you can see. Let me just move. You're holding it here. So when the arrows are coming on the idea, they're not passing through you. They're going on the side, right? So that is one thing that is, yes, it is resilience, but one thing that creatives at times fail at, that they think that their work is a part of them. Yes, we put our heart and soul and blood into it, but that doesn't mean that your work, if it gets rejected, that you're rejected. So we'll have to learn how to separate ourselves from that. And especially going into a competition, it is, losing hurts. Failure hurts. I hate losing. I'm a very sore loser. But that doesn't mean that you dwell on that loss and think that, oh, I'm a nobody and of course I'm not going to win it. If you get into that victim mindset, you are not going to progress in this career, right? And there is a lot of joy in losing also. Winning doesn't teach you anything, losing does. So take it as a lesson, chin up, yes, mourn, yes, be sad about it, but then set a time limit to it. So I'm going to be sad for one day, and then after that, I'm getting back up and I'm going to show the world that what they missed because I didn't win. So getting back up, you fall back 7 times, you have to get up 8 times. And this is what it is, right? You are not a one-trick pony. If they reject one idea, you can come up with 100 more. They reject 100 ideas, you can come up with 1,000 more, right? You're gonna come up with so many ideas that they will be like tired of looking at the work. That's what you want, right? That's the power that you have and the chance that you have. I've been doing this 23 years and I still cannot believe that I get paid for this. I come up with things and people pay me money for it, and they pay for tickets to go to Cannes or go to Brazil and all of those things that you get. But that is the chance that you have. It is, I think I forget his name, but somebody at the Cannes stage said that every brief is a chance at immortality, right? That's the power that we get to do, come up with stuff. And of course, get paid for it, right? And then you go and chill in the south of France, and amazing things will come your way just because you refuse to give up. That is what the fundamental of creativity is, constantly getting back up. And then one last, the second C that I'll bring to you is context and culture, right? The idea of the doctor, daughter-in-law will work very well in Pakistan, but it will not work in, let's say, somewhere in UK or in Europe or in America, because they do not have the same problems. And when you think of context and culture, you also think of where your idea is going to live. Where is it a TikTok idea? Is it a radio idea? Is it an idea that only lives in the sky, right? Is it a local festival? is the insight, valid only for your culture? And if it is, then stay true to that. Then don't pretend to sell that idea and make it palatable to a Western audience, right? If it works only in China, then make sure it only works in China, but it works, right? So context and culture are two very important things. And again, this is where the curiosity mindset comes in, that you always keep your eyes and ears open and you become the sponge who's always absorbing these good things. Oh, right, maybe I can do this with it, and maybe I can find that with it, right? And it is extremely playful to always be thinking about new possibilities and do something that has not been done before, right? Um, Courage is a very important thing, and it has been defined as that it is not the lack of fear, but it is going up and speaking your mind, regardless of that fear. And we are all, have this innate desire to be loved and to be liked by everyone. And most of the time in a creative career, you have to remind yourself that I am not Nutella. Not everybody will love me. It's fine, you know. So you have to put this aside and think about that. I'm scared right now. I'm scared to be here with all of you, honestly, like, and there is this whole constant comparison that you do. Like I see Amy and Laura like presenting and having so much fun. I'm like, oh my God, I have a bad throat and I'm gonna screw up this. Yet you show up. You say, it's okay, right? And the other people who are hearing me are also human. And one other thing that I learned, and I have lived by it, is that there was a mentor who came in and who said that, are you scared of clients? And of course, everybody in the room raised their hand that, yes, we're scared of clients. It says, why? They also eat and shit like you. I'm like, right. I never thought of it like that. They're also human. You're not talking to a machine. They also have so many fears and scars and monsters that they're battling on their own. And if you show your vulnerability and say, I'm scared to be on the stage right now in front of all of you, they will empathize with you more. And remember, when you go on that stage, I once had the privilege of getting a training from a TED trainer. She used to train TED speakers, right? And she said that as a speaker, when you get up on that stage, you don't realize, but you have a hypnotic power. You smile and your audience smile. You tell them I'm scared, they will feel this love for you. Tell them I screwed up, they will have that empathy and that care come in, right? So just remember, when Laura and Amy were saying that you should practice and be yourself on that stage, remember also that hypnotic power that you have by being yourself. Don't pretend to be someone else, right? So that courage is something that you would need going forward, but that courage is something that we need in all times of our lives, especially now when our phones are more smarter than any supercomputer, but they're also bad news devices, right? We also open the every day I open the news apps and I'm like, please lie to me, just please lie to me that things are okay, that the world is getting better. But this is what we have, and how it's maybe up to us to change it. It is up to us to make things better for people. And we have that power. If we as creatives can convince people to switch from one shampoo to another, why can't we convince them to be more kinder and more open and more lovable and not give way to hate? So sorry, I'm going digressing majorly, but understand the power that you guys have as creatives, right? And understand the responsibility of it as well. So you can really change the world going forward, right? And it doesn't matter if you win and lose this time, keep at it. It's titles and all are good things, but they are a title, they're not the title. It is all about the difference that you made. So that's where courage comes in, when you're going to go up against people who are very happy maintaining the status quo, when you will go up against governments and cultures and powerful people. Don't put yourself at harm, but use creativity, use it in a manner where things will change. And even if you improve the life of one person with your creative thoughts, you've done your job, right? You've made an impact. The last thing that I want to talk about in terms of courage, and where I see a lot of creatives fail in their career, is the lack of self-awareness. Courage is also looking at your darker sides, looking at what is happening inside you. And we are emotional beings. Human beings are messy, they're not clean. They have a lot of messes inside them. And I have seen such spectacular talent go to waste because people became jaded, or they became, why do I have to prove myself again? I am so good. They should just buy whatever I'm selling, right? Why do I have to come into rooms and reintroduce myself and I have done this and that and that? And these are all pitfalls. These are barbed wires where they're going to pinch you and stop you from going ahead in your career or in your life also, right? So, self awareness is the most courageous thing that you need to learn. You need to learn what are your trigger points. You need to learn what stops you from achieving your potential. And you also have to learn like things like, I'm not Nutella, not everyone is going to love me, it's fine, I'm okay. And then you sit with your emotions, right? And I'm saying this a lot because when the brief will come and you've given 24 hours to do this, there will be the dams will open on emotions. Oh my God, how am I going to do this? This sounds impossible. Of course, we can call it the imposter syndrome, you can call it the insecurities, you can call it whatever. It will show up. So, what you need to do is to, at times I think men are better at it because they have learned how to compartmentalize, at least in the Pakistani culture. Women have not. But you need to learn how to have that box in your head. We're going to put all of your fears and your insecurities and your imposter syndrome, and you're going to lock it in for 48 hours. You're going to say, I am not opening this box now. I'm going to concentrate on what's in front of me. So at times you need a soldier's mindset where you just keep marching on no matter what. And also, and this is one of my favorite authors, Terry Pratchett, and he used to say, we're witches, we do the job which is in front of us. So be like witches when you are, getting into this competition. Just do the job which is in front of you. All of those other emotions that you've packed away, you can open them once you've done the submission and once you've done that. But going forward in your creative career, a lot of things will help you either grow or pull you back, where this is where the self-awareness comes in. So life is dependent on a principle of 10-90. 10% of your life is out of your control. Where you were born. I was born in Pakistan. This is the second worst passport in the world. When I was selected for CET as the first woman, I didn't get my visa that year. They rejected my visa, saying the reason is not believable. I said, yeah, dude, me too. I don't believe it either that I got in. So I had to apply the next year. Second worst passport in the world. This is a country where it's rare for women to have any rights, not even get equality in pay and all, no rights. So I'm just saying that, and because I really believe in the CET program, and when you see role models, then you can be them. I can't change where I was born or what nationality I was given, but that 10% of my life, which is out of my control, how I react to it is the 90% of my life, right? So let's say lightning fell on your car, or the floods destroyed your home. That is out of your control. But 90% is how you react to it, right? So that is courage. Looking after your reactions is courage. Facing those nasty things that you want to avoid is courage, right? And that's what makes you better in boardrooms, because when you're presenting an idea, you don't care about what people are going to think of you, or, oh, is it CEO like or not? Or should I be a CCO right now? No, I shouldn't be thinking about how people are looking at me. I want them to just look at the work. And when you come in with that mindset that it's all about the work, then all of those insecurities get left behind. So when you go into that competition, go in as, yes, this is about me. I will win or I will lose. But let's just make it about the work right now, right? And, so that's the last point. And closing is a very important thing. A lot of creatives feel that why do I need to sell this? Especially people who work in agencies have relied too much on the strategy team or on the account management team, on somebody else who's going to sell that work. But you have to be that closer. So doing the work is, let's say, half the job. Then selling the work and closing the work is half the job, where you have to understand that it doesn't matter how great you are and you've done the work. Now you have to see it from their point of view and then sell it. So when you go on that stage, make sure that you understand that selling is also important. This is where the preparation comes in. This is where knowing the audience comes in. This is where being prepared for question and answers, right? So do these mock sessions, put those devils in the room who are going to be the devil's advocate and will ask you all the silly questions and see if you lose your nerve or not. Most of the time, you win pitches and you win competitions just because of the way you answered those questions, just because that you were prepared. So a lot of extra things that you can do on that topic, maybe read researches, see what else has been done, and they might not become part of your presentation, but when the Q&A comes, you can quote something and you can do that. So preparation, and nobody is smart, right? Like I can say that there is this fallacy of genius that we think that creativity is a divine thing, which you've been touched by God like Michelangelo, and you can be so great about it. Not at all. Everybody has to work hard, right? Before I came in today, I wrote, what am I going to say on a piece of paper? It's here, honestly. Yeah. Right. I mean, there are more places behind it. I'm not smart. I just work hard, right? And that's what you have to do also. Don't go in unprepared, thinking that the world is just waiting for your genius to unfold, because that is just bullshit. Okay. So there you have it. I'm going to stop speaking now and happy to hear any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and nice to see some emoji love. And again, very honest, great advice, and also very funny too. So thank you. Okay, let's move on to a bit of Q&A. So let's go back to kind of at the start, more competition operations questions that I can pick up. So someone has asked whether they can participate with a friend who works at a different agency or design organization. They're asking because they're both in creative comms and a freelancer is allowed to pair up too. So yes, you can work with somebody in a different agency, a different org. Most of our competitions, we allow freelancers to join as well. So just pick the best partner for you, the person that is going to support you throughout the competition. And I wonder, Amy and Laura, kind of going back to choosing to be together. I know that you participated separately and then found your way together. How did that come about?
We had actually recently been partnered together at work. We had previous creative partners that were all lovely.
They were great.
But
it's funny because we were thinking about it. We only partnered up maybe 2 months, if not a month, before we dove into Young Lions. So we were partnered up for work, and but what is really kind of important is that you find someone that you do those kind of initial conversations and make sure that the work that you make and the work that you're fascinated in making aligns, and you have similar points of view, but also have slightly different areas of strength as well. But yeah, we got partnered up for work, had only just kind of got to know each other before properly kind of having a crack at Young Lions.
yeah,
It's crazy. It feels like a long time ago.
I love that. Thank you, guys. So another kind of technical question. So someone's asked about the difference between getting shortlisted and then winning in the final. So at the CAN level, each competition will have a set amount of shortlists. So for instance, the competition that Amy and Laura participated in, that was a 10 country shortlist out of 50. In digital in particular, if you are shortlisted, then you get to present again to the full jury and the jury chair. They will then make the decision as to who wins. And then, as I said, there's only one gold, one silver, and one bronze per competition. It's a lot tighter than a lot of competitions. It's a lot tighter even than our CanLine Awards. But, it makes that prize even sweeter. So that's how that works. Let's go on to questions based on our talks. So, Tia, coming to you, you mentioned the importance of getting up after failing or being rejected. Do you have any kind of advice on maintaining that resilience?
Yeah, I think it's all about breaking it down to the basics, right? It seems when you get rejected, There is a lot of very conflicting emotions, and also stuff that you have thought about yourself gets at times reaffirmed. And then you imagine that, oh, I'm sure all the other people who were jealous of me are now laughing at me and all that, right? All of this happens. So, one way of getting resilience is that have a positivity bank account. I do this. I made this bank account in my head where I put all of these good moments, which are rare, they don't happen a lot, but some good meetings where the client has stood up and clapped for you, when you have won something, when you could see that the people you have trained who were your juniors are now going and winning in this world and are, even bigger than you are. That is also a huge prize for any mentor or teacher or senior. So I have this positivity bank account. And when you're down in your dumps and you're like, oh, damn, everything has crashed and I don't know how I'm going to get back up, then you go in that bank account and you make a withdrawal and you think about, yeah, but I'm the same person who did that too, right? And I'm the same person who did that too. So that is kind of, reliving those good moments and good things you've done. And they could be very small things also. It could be a stranger looking at the billboard that you made and say, oh, I quite like that, right? These things matter a lot. And when you take that out and you give that reminder to yourself, so you sort of become your own coach or your champion. And because just, remember, uh, people will not have that enough bandwidth, emotional bandwidth to always be picking you up. So you'll have to do that yourself. But when you relive those good moments and realize it's like, yeah, man. And you can even make a memory bank in your phone, create a folder with all those pictures, that things that you've done, participations, even achievements of finishing a very big book is something that you have done. So it could be small things, the meals that you've cooked. That I feel is resilience, where you have to remind yourself that this one project or one competition doesn't define me. I can do better, I will learn better, and I will get up again. Yeah.
Can I build on that, if that's okay?
Yeah, cool.
Please do. Yeah.
No, I think it's so true. And someone once told me to build, like, particularly emails or any kind of correspondence. You have a bank of like positivity, or a folder or a file, where all the compliments or anything that you've ever received from a client or from a mentor lives, so that when you're doubting yourself, you're also doubting them. Like, it's not, obviously we are our own harshest critics. I know I am, I'm sure Laura is too, but like it's great when you have that bank of positivity. So it knows, you know, that you're not just doubting yourself, you're doubting the people and their opinions who matter most to you.
Thanks so much. Nice to have that from both of you. So I think Amy and Laura, going to you on this one. So thinking back to when you were competing both locally and globally, would you say that the written or the creative element is more important, or is it equally important?
I think they're one and the same. So if you mean like the written submission or the board, they're just kind of like different articulations of your idea. Your written submission has a bit more detail to it. Your idea versus how you present it is another way of thinking about it. They're equally as important. Obviously, the idea itself needs to have substance. It needs to be answering the brief. It needs to hit those 3 points that we were talking about. And the way you communicate that is just as important. You want people to understand it really simply, but they're kind of one and the same in that way.
I think it's also about making sure that if you're like, if the question's around like, do you focus your energy on the award board or the written submission, your award board needs to be the key elements of your written submission, so that has to be really tight. And yet, to Laura's point, the detail lives in the written submission. But if you're like freaking out on what to really focus on, make sure that award board is tight. That's your top priority, I'd say.
Great, thank you both. We've got one, say quite a deep one for Tia here. So Udit has said it's their last year to be eligible for the Young Lions competition. If I don't win this year, is it over for me? And why is advertising so lured and obsessed with under 30 talent?
I completely agree with you. I think advertising is one of those fields where ageism exists. And yeah, and I think maybe it's up to us to change that. But it's not over for you. I got into See It Paid. I didn't even know about that. There is a thing called Young Lions. There was no representative for Can Lion in Pakistan at that time. And I just got in because some global head sent an email to all the women in the organization saying, this is something you should apply for. And I applied and thinking, I'm not going to get it. So what, right? Took 10 minutes to fill out the work and I got in. So it's not that it's only Young Lions is your only way of proving your things, right? There's a lot of other industry things. There are a lot of trainings that you can apply for and get scholarship in. I agree that the under 30, but we have to bring in some method to this madness, right? And there's also 40 under 40 in different places. Then there are, the Jody Harris Scholarship. There is See It Paid if you're a woman. And so, yeah, if it's meant to come to you, it will come. If it's not, then it doesn't matter how hard you try. So I would just say, don't let this one thinking that this is the end of the world. It really is not. You don't know, maybe they'll have new programs coming in 2027, 2028. And yeah, you will get there. What if you get there by doing fantastic work that wins and you send this email saying, come and present titanium to us, and then you will go, right? So there are multiple ways of showing the world your potential. Just focus on that.
Great answer, thank you. This one, I'm going to come to both of you on. I'll start with Amy and Laura. So, when you were ideating for Young Lions, or just in general for any piece that you've done, how did you realize, this is the one? And how does one navigate through analysis paralysis during the research and ideation phase?
Great question. Okay. I think the way that we did try to be those creative directors, and like we said before in our presentation, it's just about making sure that the idea is unexpected, is feasible and on brief, and is simple. And I know, like, it is hard. You do that, have that analysis paralysis at times, but I think it is important to be strict on your ideas. And I suppose when you're thinking of ideas, particularly if an idea originally was written down by me and then Laura builds on it, make sure that you don't feel like it's like you have sole ownership of an idea. You both want that idea to live. And if one of you isn't sure, you have to trust each other to go, okay, well, if I'm trying to convince you to keep this idea in, maybe there's a valid reason why you're hesitant. And if you're not both sold, then naturally the judges might be split too. So yeah, just making sure that you're both passionate about the idea, which I guess is another benefit to working in pairs.
Yeah, I think kind of like we were saying before, like you can come with 100 ideas, 1,000 ideas. To find something that hits like every single thing is actually, it narrows the pool pretty quickly. But also like there's also an intangible quality, which is maybe an annoying thing to say, but like you can kind of get a gut feel on something. Like if you're like, oh yeah, right, like answers the brief and it's, it's sort of in this, but you don't have any passion for it, it's probably not the idea you want. Like naturally you'll start being like, oh, I just keep coming back to this idea, I'm excited about it. Like we debate our idea as well, like challenge it, interrogate it. But yeah, you need to believe in it, because if you don't believe in it, no one else will. And then just the fundamental things of like, is it feasible? Is it simple? To the analysis paralysis thing, that's something that I definitely used to struggle with a lot. Because to Amy's point, I love the research phase, like interrogating the problem, asking why. It's important to know when to move on. And I think that's where, like, for us, that time management thing is really important. It's like being strict with yourself of like, go deep, get excited, be curious, but know when to what this stage of the process is over. Now it's the review phase. I can look at the 100 slides are called of information, bold the things that are interesting, and then start ideating off of that. It's having structure to your process, and keeping yourself accountable to that, because everything's interesting at the end of the day, and you just kind of have your normal process, condense it down, and know when to move on to the next stage.
Great, thank you. And Tia, same question to you. So, how do you realize or come across the one when it comes to your ideas?
Yeah, I would just pick on what Laura and Amy were saying about having that gut feeling, right? When you come up with a great idea, it actually excites you. It has this physical effect on you, right? I mean, at times you get butterflies, or at times you get scared, or at times your blood pressure spikes. Something happens. It is a very physical reaction to that idea. Maybe people start jumping up and down, and some are like, "Oh, damn! All right, what am I going to do?" Right? So if you get that reaction, that means that there's something in there which works. And unlike any other sport competition where the rules are so easily defined that this is the court, and if the ball falls outside, then this is an out or whatever. In creativity, the rules keep changing, the goalposts keep changing. So for that, I think you should actively work on training that gut. And you can do that very easily. You can go into look at some really bad work, and why do you think it's bad? And what could you have done better? If you had been given this brief, what you could have done better. And then you find these briefs online, a lot of them, right? And then similarly, go and look at great work and the work that has won. And you think about, why do you think it won? Why was it the thing that it got a gold and not a Grand Prix, right? What was competing against it? So this is a lot of ways of training your gut and putting yourself in the shoes of those judges, and do that when you are preparing for this competition also, right? So does it answer the brief? Definitely, it's a given thing. But would this excite the judges or not? The work that they have seen in their life and the work that will be around them, is it going to be different enough? Is it going to be simple enough? So all those fundamentals that Amy and Laura talked about are definitely there, but make it a usual practice of, how would I have done this better? How would I have judged this? In our office, at times we do mock juries, like the people who have never been on juries, and we will take some work that, let's say, won in Spikes last year. We'll show them the work, and then we'll give them a sheet that, would you give it a bronze? Would you shortlist it? Would you give it a gold? Would you give it a Grand Prix? And then we will go and reveal the actual things that they won. And at times people are shocked that we didn't even shortlist it, but it won a Grand Prix. Why did it win a Grand Prix, right? That's just training your gut and getting into that. So do this for fun. Do it with 4 or 5 people, just that there's enough material out there for you to realize and get over that, paralysis by analysis.
Amazing. Well, that concludes today's session. Thank you, everybody, for participating, for engaging and asking some great questions. Of course, thank you to our panelists for both of your sessions. As I said, for your honesty, and also for a little touch of comedy at this time in the evening or in the afternoon. Always greatly appreciated. Everyone on the call, if you have any questions, then please reach out to us at competitions@canlions.com. Can has an S on it, it's not just as E. And we'd be happy to help. We'll get through some of the questions that weren't answered as well via email. Thank you all so much, and hopefully see you in the summer.
Thanks for having us.